In 2014, hello, ladies and gentlemen, I received this email from then the Vice President of ANSI ANAP, the Chairman and also Principal on the IAF Tax Report 990, Randy Doty. I'm going to read this to you because then I'm going to read you the speech. It all correlates together. The IAF MLA MRA International Accreditation Forum Multilateral Agreement, Multi-Regional Agreement works to facilitate global trade and vision of accredited once accepted everywhere. IAF MLA signatories are obligated to recognize other certificates accredited by other IAF and IAF MRA and MLA signatories as equivalent. So a company with an ISO 9001 or a laboratory certification granted to them by the China National Accreditation Services is considered equivalent to ANSI ANAP. Now let's continue. Beneath the surface, how global accreditation, government silence, and one woman's courage exposed a hidden chain of catastrophe. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. There comes a moment when silence becomes betrayal, not just of our principles, but of our fellow citizens. Today, I'm going to speak clearly and directly about the chain of deceptions that runs from the international laboratories to the very heart of our domestic institutions, and why we must demand accountability before the next catastrophe strikes. Let me begin by addressing the intertwined structure of the American Global Accreditation. In 2018, the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, a private, non-for-profit, non-governmental entity, formally took over the American National Accreditation Board, ANAP. They now operate as one entity under two names, and together they own and underwrite certification systems across every sector of the United States and also the world. These two organizations also founded and underwrote the International Accreditation Forum, incorporated in Delaware, the IF sister organization, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, in Australia. They are associations of accreditation bodies, national and international, which are equivalent to ANSI ANAP. These are not harmless trade bodies. They are associations and national and international accreditation authorities who determine what is deemed safe and certified globally. And when these certifications fail, they take legal responsibility as underwriters, ANSI and ANAP do. Now consider this. From 2015 to 21, the IF was chaired by a communist Chinese national, Zhao Junwu, who was involved with our quality since 1994, who simultaneously served as the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services, the equivalent of ANSI ANAP accreditation. Let me pause here. This means that for 6 years, yes, 6 years, the most powerful international body setting global safety and quality benchmarks, including those adopted by U.S. agencies, was under the leadership of a man working directly with the Chinese Communist Party and is mandated to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. And ANSI and ANAP, as a U.S. anchor to this structure, remained silent. It gets worse. In January 2017, Zhao Junwu stood in the lab in Wuhan, China, and we have a picture of this right here. Stood in the lab at Wuhan, China, Wuhan Virology, WIV, yes, that Wuhan, handing over an international accreditation certificate equivalent in accreditation to ANSI ANAP. Now, let's talk about Pamela Sale, the Vice President of ANSI ANAP Laboratory Accreditation. In a deposition 2017 in Texas, she was explicit. One of the issues is that there is no commonly agreed upon set of standards that forensic labs around the country have to follow. Instead, there are informal guidelines that labs can choose to follow or not. Read that again. They certify the lab knowingly. Fast forward to May 2019, months before the outbreak, the CDC released Volume 25 of Virology Training Manual only for the WIV. The most critical part of any well-run Bio-Level 4 laboratory is highly trained technicians. This is the first line of defense and containment. The Wuhan lab didn't have them. ANSI, ANAP, and IF and CNAS knew it, yet they certified it anyway. The virus escaped, whether by accident or negligence. The chain of responsibility runs directly through these accreditation bodies. Now to the United States. The Department of Justice, the FDA, Department of Homeland Security, and Department of Commerce, and other federal agencies are not just observers in this system, they are members of ANSI-ANAB. In fact, some of them are also customers. That's a conflict of interest so deep it undermines our regulatory credibility. Which brings me to the recent chilling revelation. On May 15th, 2025, at the Mahwah Institute Roundtable, Dr. Sarah Brenner, a senior official at the FDA, revealed that she refused to take the vaccine while pregnant, even as her agency publicly promoted it to millions of women. Why? Because she had internal knowledge of nanotechnology concerns, lack of safety data, and potential toxicity risks. She said, knowing what I know, not only about nanotechnology, about medicine, about the medical countermeasures, but also having a very strong and firm grounding in bioethics, there were many things that were not right. Her silence, she admits, was enforced by the agency's culture. They don't let you get very far out of the castle at FDA with your talking points. Ladies and gentlemen, we were told to trust the system, but ANSI-ANAB's certification of the WIV, to IAF's leadership under the Communist Chinese National and the China National Accreditation Services, to the FDA's own internal affairs about vaccine safety. The system was broken, is broken, and the truth was buried. Even as President Biden administration has placed a moratorium on lawsuits against Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson until 2029. And I say this emphatically, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who has relatives who got injured by these things, this is what you can do. ANSI and ANAB remain legally vulnerable because as underwriters, they are responsible for systematic and product failure, and they're worth about $100 million. In closing, the words of Dr. Brenner ring loudest. There were only statements and assertions that were really more like beliefs. Belief is not safety. As we see, certification is not science. And silence in the face of known danger is not protection. It's time we demand real accountability from our agencies, our standard bodies, and hidden networks that props them up. Our lives, our health, and our future depend upon it. I thank you, and let me just say this. The way to go around this is go directly to ANSI-ANAB with your attorney. The only problem is, and I say this emphatically, but come get me to be your expert witness. We have the data. For those of you who have relatives and friends who got injured, show them this video. Here is my number, 203-556-1493. We are a quality expert over 40 plus years, involved with aerospace and medical implants and printing and materials and plastic distribution. We dealt with every arena under the sun. I say this emphatically to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we cannot have placed trust in our federal agencies until they decouple from the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board, because we're in shambles right now in our aerospace arena, in our medical arena, in industry, in electronics, and it's all based on ANSI-ANAB. And I say that not to bash them. I say that because my business is my family name. And as Patrick Shanahan would have said about the F-35, the former Deputy Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump, and you can confirm this on the internet, he was asked about the F-35, and he said the program is fucked up. So yes, this is fucked up. From aerospace to medical, all of it is bad. I look forward to hearing from you. Please leave all your information down below. Contact me if you need my assistance in getting your reparations, because Joe Biden signed off that moratorium on Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer till 2029. But you don't go after. You don't go after Wuhan, China. You go after the representative like ANSI-ANAB. The China National Accreditation Services are equivalent to ANSI-ANAB, and ANSI-ANAB are the underwriters. 203-556-1493. I look forward to hear from you. Do it. Let's do it together. and I thank you.